everybody. You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 526, Divisional Round NFL Preview. Hello, Big Chillians, and welcome back to the Big Chill Podcast. I'm Frank, joined as always with Eddie. Eddie, how's it going?
Yeah, things are going pretty well. Had a night out last night with a friend of the podcast, Vasilis, but no exciting stories.
Is he a friend of the podcast, or is he a myth of the podcast?
Yeah, I guess he's more of a Greek myth. Although he did make one appearance, right? Like there was one time when he was over at my place, so there was kind of Vasilis's rumblings were on the kind of murmuring in the background.
Early days.
That was early days of the podcast. That must have been in the first 15 episodes, I would have said.
Yeah.
But since then.
So how's Vasilis doing?
Yeah, he's doing pretty well. I mean, spending time with him, it's a lot of sitting next to him while he scrolls through Instagram. Like that is a significant portion of having drinks with him.
You have a knack for having friends who love to go to bars and sit on their phones and ignore you. I don't know if that's an indication of your ability to choose friends or your ability to entertain friends.
It's a mixture of both, probably. But no, yeah, you just have to tolerate the fact that sort of 15 minutes of every hour, he has to just scroll through Instagram feeds and reels.
Would you be okay if it were like a dating app?
I'd be more okay with that, yeah. Because my issue with whenever you're with someone and they are just scrolling Instagram, is it's so mindless that they are basically telling you, I would rather almost do anything than have a conversation with you right now. Like a dating app, at least there's a purpose there and a hope. But when you're just looking through reels while you're sitting next to someone in a public place, and you don't even have sound on the reels, so you're not even getting the full impact of whatever you're consuming.
And he can't read, so he doesn't know what it's captioned. He can't read anyway.
No. Yeah, he's just seeing bright lights and he's distracted. But no, it's
it's like bringing a dog to the bar.
Yeah. But you have to tolerate it. Last weekend though, when I was out, I wanted to bring this up actually on the last episode, I forgot. One of the things I find to be the most awkward of all the social interactions I occasionally have when I'm out is when you cheers people and they have those like pre-prepared toasts that they have to do, like if you're doing a round of shots and they have to do the thing. Like,
here's to the best of us, here's to the worst of us. Yes. Here's to blah blah blah.
That nonsense.
And those without pants.
Yeah, and they always
stupid things.
Exactly, and they always expect it. Like I don't know how to react to them because they're never amusing. And you've almost always heard them before. They think it's the most original thing in the world. It's like I've seen the same movie.
Yeah, they got it from a Ben Affleck movie in 2007.
Yeah. And I just don't know how. It's one of those things. It really, for me, I guess for some people it's uplifting. It's a real mood ruiner for me. Just takes me right out of it.
Well, it's like a 3-second thing, so I don't know. Like, are you like depressed the rest of the week then?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, certainly it just ruins the experience of the shot or the drink or whatever. Because, I just then awkwardly, I can't fake the laugh. It's just not who I am. I don't have that ability. I barely laugh as it is, so trying to fake one is hard enough. But, and so it just leads to an awkward silence and poor social interaction.
Yeah. Last night I watched The Menu. It's now on HBO Max for those in the States, but with Ralph Fiennes.
Fine, I think isn't it just Ralph Fiennes?
I think so. And Anna Taylor-Joy and Nicholas Hoult.
Ralph Fiennes.
Ralph Fiennes.
I mean, it's true. He's got a weird name.
Voldemort.
Yeah.
It's really funny because now whenever I see him in anything, I don't picture Voldemort, but there are times the way he moves his body is like Voldemort had like a really weird way of moving his body, and every once in a while he'll do like a Voldemort like move, and it's really weird to see. But like the face doesn't, obviously, because they did a good job kind of doing with the makeup and special effects. But some of his movements bring me back to the Harry Potter. But it was a decent movie. It's very heavy on the satire and like the social commentary, like extremely heavy. That's the whole purpose of it. So it got a little bit much, but I thought it was kind of funny. I like dark comedies and dark humor anyway, so worth watch. It's short, which is so nice to find movies that are under 2 hours nowadays. It's
I
like
mean,
it's really satisfying
I'm,
sometimes.
I'm always torn because if you're really enjoying it, you kind of want it to be longer, right? So it
But
puts
I
you in that.
think going into a movie though, right? When like you're like, hey, let's watch this movie. Oh my god, it's 2 hours and 45 minutes. Let's just save it for next week. But it's
Yeah,
like, hey, you want to watch this movie? Oh, it's an hour and 40. Yeah, okay, we can watch it.
I do think, yeah, that sometimes based on length, a lot of things just get put off because you
Yeah.
feel, especially like midweek viewing, you then think to yourself, like, it's a Tuesday night. I don't have time to watch 2.5 hours of something,
Yeah.
but I can watch. And then you end up watching 2.5 hours of something anyway, but in 45-minute increments. So it's kind of
Yeah.
stupid, but
With commercials.
yeah.
It's like
So
even worse.
it changes absolutely nothing. But yeah, there are certainly times, and you just feel like I'm not sure I want to commit to that length of time, and I don't like pausing and picking movies back up because often
Yeah,
that just
it's
could have
tough.
ruined. Yeah, but
I mean, and there are a lot of good movies I still haven't watched that I always want to watch, but I'm just don't want to invest the almost 3 hours to watch them. So I kind of make notes. So when I go on planes, I have a list of movies that when I get on a plane, I'll check to see if they're on the whatever, like the plane entertainment, like Delta Entertainment things, and I'll watch them then. So like I went through all the John Wicks. I had them all saved until I got on a plane. Like Tenet, which is probably not the best. Dune, which is also probably not the best to watch on a plane, but those were all movies that I had saved, ready to go.
yeah, no, those are all good plane movies to me. I mean, we'd previously discussed Dune as a plane movie, right?
Yeah.
They all make sense to me. So, do we kick things off with a short reaction to the Premier League action, or with
Short
the
reaction to the action.
yeah? Why don't we go there then? Because there's not too much to say aside from the fact that we can start maybe with Manchester United, who we discussed possibly re-entering the title race, and then their draw against Crystal Palace on Wednesday night.
Instantly drawing against Crystal
Yeah,
Palace.
with a 91st minute free kick, really nice equalizer from Palace's perspective. But yeah, I'm not going to say it's them out of the title race because there's still a long
Yeah.
way to go. But certainly, it's a blow right as they were starting to coming on the back of that result against City and with Arsenal this weekend. They would have felt if they'd beaten Palace and then won this weekend that they were right in there. And now there's a chance if they then now do not win this weekend, or certainly if they lose, that they will feel as if they are quite
Back
far
out.
adrift. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the real
Yeah,
talking
not
point
not optimal.
now, the real talking point being City last night, well, Thursday night, 2-0 down at halftime to Spurs, looking as if things were going to get very complicated for them, managing to fight back and win 4-2. In part, I mean, they were the better team in the first half, conceded two sort of fairly stupid goals, and then Spurs just fell apart as soon as City started to show any signs of quality. I guess the really interesting thing to mention on that has been Pep Guardiola's post-match comments in both the immediate interview
Ooh,
he
I have not
gives.
seen him. Was he never worried?
No, quite the opposite. He is
Oh,
being highly, highly critical of his team, of the supporters, basically saying that he thinks complacency is set in because they've won the Premier League title 4 times out of the last 5, and there's just an expectation that they'll win, and that there's no fire in his team, no fight,
oh, I
and that
like this. I like
if
this.
if they keep playing that way, then they will keep losing and they will keep dropping points. And he was highly, highly critical, saying he didn't. He said the fans in the first half were silent, that they just, there was no reaction from them until City scored their first goal. That he needs more from them. He needs them to be more invested and more interested. But certainly that from his players, he needed for them to show kind of higher levels, greater levels of commitment, and that he
So
is. I mean, he was very critical. It came across as very disappointed. He swore multiple times, which is very unpep. But yeah, he clearly not pleased.
So my question would be, was this indicated in the halftime speech? Because I there's part of me agrees with him, but then part of me thinks maybe they went down 2-0, went into halftime, and I don't know, De Bruyne or Grealish or someone was like, hey guys, why don't we just fucking wake up and start playing? And then they go back out there and score 4 and win. Like, or was it him that had to kind of say this to them at half? Like, this is what's happening. You guys are like letting this go. You think you're just going to come back. You think you're going to win every game. And look, you're not. You're down 2-0. You need to turn it around right now. Like, this game is the start. You need to turn around and then start caring more and putting more effort in. Then I agree with him. But if it's just the players at halftime, we're just like, shit, we're down 2-0. Okay, let's try this half and then go out and win. Then like, does it really matter? Because at the end of the day, like, they can just turn it on whenever they want and win. Like, it doesn't matter if they're complacent for a half or not.
Well, no, I think that his point is more they were complacent for the entire match. Like, I mean, he wasn't.
But they still won, so who cares?
Well, because his point is if you play that way, you will drop points. I mean, I think he had his assessment was fair. I don't think they played necessarily all that much better in the second half than they played in the first half. The difference.
But isn't that then proving that wrong though? If they play like that, they're going to lose. But they played like that and still won by 2.
No, because things went your way to a certain extent. You took 4 chances, and on another day you don't take those 4 chances, and you either lose or you draw, and those are crucial drop points, I think. And he'll also be disappointed with the sort of way in which they conceded goals, which was sloppy for the first goal with the Ederson pass, and then also with the second goal with kind of switching off at a free kick. I think the point he makes is fair. And look, over the last few weeks, City have not been, even when they're winning, they have not been at their very best. And there is, Haaland, for all the goals he's scored, there have been a lot of people now asking the question, and it was always going to happen when City kind of had a little bit of a sequence of matches where they maybe weren't firing on all cylinders. Now people asking, okay, Haaland's great, he scores goals, but are City worse with him in the team? Because with the way that they normally play, Haaland is not, talking about dropping back, getting involved in midfield, the way in which they press. It's sort of like playing with 10 men at times because he just doesn't do any of those things. I kind of disagree. I think what we saw, for example, when they, the best performance I've seen from any team in the last 12 months is when they played against United and beat them 6-2 or whatever it was. So, I think but at the moment, they're not great. So they've got to figure something out, because between the matches coming up against Arsenal, every Premier League match now for them is extremely important. And with the Champions League coming back, they have to be better than they are at the moment. If they keep playing at the standards that they are at the moment, they will not win the league, and they won't win the Champions League.
I mean, I don't think they're worse with Haaland at all, because I think he sets up well in their team because their midfield is so deep and they're so good at passing and setting up plays. And that's like, he's just the finishing touch on all those plays, which was slightly missing last season. Whereas now you have great playmakers in midfield who can just set him up and he'll finish. Like, he will take advantage of those opportunities. So I don't think they're worse. I think you can kind of get lost in trying to set up those plays too much versus the fact that they can also score on their own, some of those players. So maybe you're trying to push it too much to him. But I think overall, I think it sets up well when you have someone who can finish plays that people like De Bruyne can make that other players in the league can't. So I don't think they're worse.
Well, I guess I think they're worse when, this is going to sound really stupid, when they're not playing as well, they're now worse. Like, City's B performance is now worse than City's B performance was before, because Haaland is a little bit of a.
But I know this is a 1 game thing, but is it that bad when you still beat Spurs 4-2?
Well, I mean,
with your B game.
Put some put some context into that. Spurs were absolutely played off the pitch by Arsenal a few days ago. So the fact that Spurs came close to beating City, if you want to compare those two 90-minute performances that we've just witnessed in the space of 4 days, Arsenal are clearly the better side. So
And
yeah,
I guess also you could say City then played a B game against United and lost. So when you put both of those together, it doesn't look as good.
no,
So it
this
is
isn't
a
a
very
react.
short.
This isn't a reaction to just yesterday. It's a reaction to City basically pretty much since the World Cup break, and they haven't been quite as good. It's just Haaland's a little bit of a luxury item in the sense that he scores goals, but he doesn't do a lot else. And so, yeah, when you're midfield, when you're on top, when you're bossing possession, when you're really strangling the other team, then he's perfect. However, if you're in a little bit of a fight, he might not be the player who's you're kind of most suited to having up front. And that will be the interesting thing to see going forward if Guardiola chooses to sub him off at times and bring Alvarez on, and kind of you try and change their shape and the way in which they play. But I don't know. He's clearly that was Guardiola being genuinely frustrated, and I guess that would be maybe concerning for City in multiple ways. One, if you're a City player, there's some players there who I think will be leaving, not during this transfer window, but certainly in the summer, because I think he feels as if they are complacent and not up to scratch. And okay, he signed his new long-term contract not long ago, but it's also reminiscent of sort of noises he made towards the end of his time at both Barcelona and Bayern Munich, where he just starts to feel as if we've won a lot and maybe people don't care as much anymore, and so why am I here?
Yeah, we'll have to see. And I guess I think you bring up an interesting question, Eddie. You said Haaland's not much of a fighter. Do you think he actually would be good physically in a fight? Is he a teammate you want? Is he a teammate you want on like having your back?
Well, yeah, he's a big physically imposing person. I mean, I think.
But is he a fighter?
Yeah, no. What I mean, I think he's a fighter on the pitch too. I think he tries to drag his teams. You've seen that certainly in his time at Dortmund, where he was often almost a one-man team.
I am asking you if you were out to a ball.
No, I know, but
and he's on your back. Do you trust him?
No, okay, but first I'm just saying. I think the first bit was a little bit misrepresented. It's more that it's not that he's not a fighter. It's just that he gets isolated. And he doesn't do, for example. Ultimately, before I answer your question, they're almost more suited to someone like Harry Kane, who would have dropped back into midfield at times, and there's a lot of questions.
But then get criticized that he's not pushing forward enough.
Yeah, the selfishness that Haaland shows of
damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, Haaland's there to do one thing. He wants the ball in the penalty area, and he'll take his chances. I mean, last night he did pretty much nothing aside from score a goal. And that's he. Aside from that, he was pretty much, you kind of didn't notice him, but he took the chance when he needed to. Would I want him in? I mean, I don't know if I necessarily want a pampered Premier League footballer as the person to have my back in a bar fight. I think that would be.
But if you're going out with Manchester City, you're going out, and shit gets real. I don't think I want him. First off, he's not that intimidating looking. Partly, I think it's the hair and that looks like he's like 14. He's big, he's tall, but that's about all he's got going for him. And he's probably going to be dressed in some obnoxiously annoying outfit.
This is a real short king take from you. the guy who's just really big and in great shape is definitely not physically intimidating.
No, not to me at all. Now, someone like Jack Grealish, he like puts his leg up and puts his calf out, then I'm nervous.
He's gonna flex you to death.
I see those calves coming in. I'm backing down.
I don't think Haaland would be my first choice because I would probably end up picking like one of the South Americans who's probably going to be a little bit scrappier if I had to. But and I might be
who wins in a fight, Haaland or Kevin De Bruyne?
Probably Haaland. I mean, that's a big physical advantage he's got.
Yeah.
he does have a lot going in his favor
He's
there.
got a good reach.
Yeah. But if you told me like,
But he's probably wearing like a $2,000 Versace
yeah, but so's
cape.
Kevin De Bruyne. I don't know what. It's not like the rest of the City players are turning up in rags. You know, they're all
Yeah, but they're not on like the cover of like women's fashion magazines like
Jack
he is.
Grealish. Well, Jack Grealish is on the cover of men's fashion magazines.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Respect.
yeah. No, I think. Look, I think his dad was a professional footballer. He's a professional footballer. You know, he's probably not the person you'd want in a scrap. I think there's probably people with backgrounds where you know
What
they
about
could.
Ederson?
Oh, I'd want the neck tattoo. I mean, the neck
Yes.
tattoo is an immediate scare off.
Yes.
If you're in a bar,
This
and
guy's willing to get a tattoo on his neck. I
yeah,
don't know what it'll do to me.
exactly. The neck tattoo is like neck or face tattoos. If you're ever in a kind of bar fight situation, is an immediate move away. Like this
Yeah.
guy cannot be trusted. Who knows what he's
That's
gonna
why he's a good keeper. People are afraid to even shoot on him.
do. Well, he wasn't great last night with the pass, but yeah. No, Ederson would probably be towards the top of the list. And again, that it could be completely wrong. It's two factors: South American with a neck tattoo, and that's all. That makes me think he's probably seen a few fights, but it
I
could
think
be
also
completely
Kyle
wrong.
Walker, I trust. He's got that attitude that like no one can beat him, so he'd be super confident.
Yeah, I don't know if you necessarily want sort of super confidence, but yeah, I could see Walker a little bit. And as I said, there'd be a few. There'd be a few on the City team. We can have maybe in the off season we can have a which Premier League footballer would win a kind of UFC like
I'm sure there's
knock
some out there that actually do like the UFC training
the,
off-season workouts,
like jujitsu stuff. Oh, I'm sure a few of
Yeah.
them roll. I'm sure. I'm sure.
I'm sure a few of them. I'm sure a lot of them roll.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure they'd love to tell you about their latest rear naked chokehold.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of them were talking about their naked chokeholds.
Anyway, so should we move on then to the NFL, where
What a segue.
from people grappling and wrestling with each other to a physical sport, where this weekend with the divisional round in the playoffs, things really get interesting. In the end, we were served up a more compelling wildcard weekend than we expected, although pretty much everything went to form. I guess the two games that we thought were toss-ups were toss-ups, but all of the favorites who you expected to win won, maybe not in the fashion in which we expected them to. This is where things get really interesting because there are a lot more closer games, and you can make strong arguments for almost every team in this round. So should be a good weekend of football. I guess the question to you, you're not a huge fan of the Saturday games. So the discussion here is we've got 4 games, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. Would you have preferred a one Saturday night game and like the typical slate of 3 Sunday time slots, or do you like this being evenly distributed?
No, I don't mind the Saturday games like this when you have 4 games and that way each game's going to get prime time, and then you don't have the 3 on a one day is tough. Like even in the regular season, just watching that much football, even when there's more games on and you can, watch Red Zone, which is going to have just the best of each game on at a time, it's still a lot. So this way, at least if there's only 2 games and one isn't that great, you only watch 8 hours total and maybe 4 isn't that great. But you run the risk if you have 3 games and you watch 12 hours, then, a lot of it could not be enjoyable. So I prefer the 2 and the 2. And especially it's from a West Coast standpoint, it's very doable, so it's like good times. Saturday, you can kind of be out and about doing things and be perfect time to watch the games. It's not too late. And then Sunday obviously is nice to have them done early, but yeah, no, I like this. This is perfect.
Well, are we going to do things the constant debate? Do you want to pick the order, or are we going chronological order?
I think let's go chronological. It's there's only 4, so it doesn't matter too much.
Okay. Well, then things start with on
The
Saturday
Jags
with
at the Chiefs.
yeah, maybe the least interesting.
8.5 is the spread, by the way. So I'll give you the spreads, and the over under 52, which I think's kind of low.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, I guess it
They
depends.
so
If you think
well they
points are
have
coming from
played.
both
They played.
teams.
Yeah, they played once this year, and it was 27-17, Kansas City. So
Okay, so
that would have been under.
yeah. Personally, I think this is the easiest game of the weekend to call. I don't think they're, in recent, effectively, we've seen the Jags play back to back playoff games, seeing as in week 18, it was a win and you're in situation. And then obviously last week, in a true playoff scenario in the wild card round, they weren't super impressive in either of those outings.
No,
They,
you could
they,
argue that they didn't really win either of those games.
yeah. Yeah, no, the other teams lost them. And so it's difficult to imagine them. They'd need to significantly improve on both of those performances in order to be able to beat the Chiefs, or the Chiefs have to have a major off day coming off rest, which, could happen, but I don't think it will happen. It's also just doesn't feel like a great matchup for the Jags. They do like to blitz a lot. Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks against the blitz in the league. He's actually falls into a strange category where he's more efficient against the blitz than he is when not blitzed. So, yeah, I think the Chiefs should win this one fairly comfortably. The spread, I mean, as we saw last week, when you're going more than a touchdown in a playoff game, it is a big line. I think I'd have to take the Chiefs minus the points, but it is quite high. But I do expect them. I don't expect this to be a super close game, even if it ends up being the Chiefs winning by 7.
Yeah, the Jags have won 6 straight, which is impressive no matter what team you are and how you're winning. 6 straight is 6 straight, and that's, you're on a good run. But at the same time, like you mentioned, a lot of those wins weren't very emphatic wins. They were more kind of we held on while the other team just kind of fell apart. And some of the teams were the Texans, and I think the Jets were in there as well. A Cowboys team that was struggling. So not the greatest 6 wins you could ask for, but they are hot, and you have to respect the fact that they're in a, at this point, we don't care. We're just going to go out there and play, and we're not expected to win. So, we'll do whatever it takes. I think actually it could be the under.
Do you really think teams think like that when you get to the divisional round of the playoffs? We're not expected to win.
I think so. I think if you're a Jags team, I think you have to personally think, look, we barely won our division and we didn't even win it that great. We won a playoff game. We're still very young. No one believes in us. Let's just go out and play unhinged. Hey, if you're over hustling and you make a mistake, we'll take it. Whereas I think the Chiefs right now are slightly nervous because I honestly believe so. They should be winning more Super Bowls than they have right now. Like, it's one of the things with Mahomes. Mahomes has probably been the best quarterback for the last 4 or 5 years. He has 1 MVP.
5 is
it's one of those things where, like, they're not winning.
Five seems like a stretch. When did he even start? When did he take the job from Alex Smith? 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Yeah, so he hasn't been the best
Since
quarterback.
then.
Yeah.
He won his MVP his first year. He was a full-time starter.
Well, yeah, but and we'll probably get onto that debate, as Gronk subsequently ripped into Aaron Rodgers for, it's not about MVPs, it's about Super Bowls.
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, but what I'm also saying is that's one, when they look back on it, that's one aspect. Another aspect is they've only won 1 Super Bowl, and you'd think with this talent they should be winning more.
Yes, I mean, I guess it depends. If they win this year, then that feels right for me. 2 Super Bowls in this stretch. I mean, they've only made 2, so it's not as if they've this isn't a Buffalo Bills from the 90s scenario where they've made multiple and come up short. I don't know. I
That's
think
kind of what I'm saying is I feel like they've been the best team, but they've only won one and made it twice.
I
And
don't think that.
now if they don't make it again, that's then you're kind of getting in that territory, I think. So
I mean,
I just think they're going to be a little nervous here because this is like, okay, we should easily beat this team. Let's just make sure we do, kind of playing a little tight.
okay. I guess I disagree with you on the pressure that they might be feeling, but I also disagree with you on the idea that the Jags are coming into this feeling as if they're playing with house money. But
Trevor Lawrence said he's going to go to Waffle House an hour before the game this time. That's how much he doesn't give a shit.
Maybe, well, look, based on his first half outing, he might be going at halftime. So but I guess the thing to me, which is a larger discussion in a way, I think there's this like Patriots Tom Brady effect where we expect good teams to be so dominant now, just because the Patriots showed that was sort of possible. I mean, they did it in batches, but they went through.
Well, so did the Niners with Montana.
Yeah, but not to the same extent, right? I think we've suddenly got into this idea of now, like you have to be a. I think in all American sports, you like have to be a dynasty to be really good. It's not acceptable to be like a team. Like I don't think the Chiefs were the best team last year. I don't think the Chiefs are the best team this year. I think they might win the Super Bowl, but I don't think they're the best team. So, I think they've probably had 2 seasons where they've been the best team. And weirdly, in that period, they lost the Super Bowl. They were blown out in the Super Bowl in kind of strange circumstances. And then they won a Super Bowl that they probably shouldn't have won. And so it is a little weird, but yeah, anyway, I think they'll come into this confident.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think we just discussed that the over seems a little low, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see an under just because I think the Jags are going to do what the other teams do.
We didn't discuss this. This is classic Frank. You managed to take both sides of this. You're like, the over under seems low. I'm going under.
And you said, yeah, you said, yeah, it does.
I said, I
you
guess.
You literally responded, yeah, it does.
I said, I guess. I don't know.
You said, yeah,
I said, if you think both teams are going to score a lot of points, I would have been, I thought it was, honestly, my assessment is probably a little high because I don't expect the Jags to score 25 points. So,
yeah. But I think the Jags are going to do what other teams have tried with the too deep high shell and try and limit the big plays and make the Chiefs kind of methodically drive down the field, and that takes time. So I think the Chiefs will score a lot on their drives, but I think their drives are going to be longer than like a 3-play bomb like you used to see way back in the day. So a lot of teams have done that too high shell. So I think Jacksonville did that a lot in their first matchup and held them to 27, which is still 27, but it's not 40. Like you can see the Chiefs scoring sometimes. Interesting facts. I have a few, Eddie. Jacksonville 8-5 outright and against the spread as an underdog this season. Tied for the most in a single season in the Super Bowl era for most underdog wins. Can they get one more to break that record?
Does it count? Like, do playoff wins count towards that statistic?
Probably not.
Because it seems unfair when you're talking underdogs because you're expecting that most of those teams probably don't make the playoffs if you're consistently an underdog. But no, I don't think they can. Even if the statistic does count, I think the Chiefs will win this game.
Well, Doug Peterson, Eddie, as an underdog, 6-0 against the spread and 5-1 outright in the playoffs as an underdog. So he knows what it takes to win. And this is a matchup of ex-Eagles head coaches, Doug Peterson and Andy Reid, which I find funny. Which I guess, the Eagles shouldn't be too mad because they're the number 1 seed in the NFC. But if the Eagles weren't so good, they might be looking at this saying, like, how many times are we going to get rid of good coaches that go on somewhere else and win?
Yeah, I mean, kind of very contrasting tenures with the Eagles too, right? In the case of Doug Peterson, fairly short but wins a Super Bowl. In the case of Andy Reid, long but always came up short. So
Yep.
historically, Andy Reid probably goes down as the better Eagles coach. However, Doug Peterson was the one who actually managed to win a Super Bowl. I'm not a huge Doug Peterson fan, I have to say. So I don't. I think Doug Peterson. I think one of the worst things that has happened to Doug Peterson is the Philly special, because I think ever since then it's convinced him that he can run trick plays consistently, and that almost it's like his signature thing. Like there is, I have no doubt that the Jags will run a trick play at some point in this game, and he might do it at a moment in time when they just do not need to do it. But then it also might be such a blowout that it doesn't matter when he does it.
Yeah.
But
Maybe he's a good like motivator coach, because in the short term that can work. You can like motivate a team to play better than they can, but in the long term, I think like being a good coach and having a good team will balance out, being able to kind of push beyond your limits a little. So maybe we're seeing that with the Eagles. He had one season where he's able to kind of motivate them over and then didn't do much after, and then now we're seeing it with the Jags.
how motivated could you be by a guy in a visor? The visor is
Hey,
a
hey, Ted Lasso, man.
yeah. I don't know if Ted Lasso would necessarily motivate me.
People believe.
I think we could have some great heart to hearts. He'd give me a very sort of relevant, meaningful book. We'd have some
Maybe
nice.
that's a different motivation. Maybe he's
The,
tapping you deep into your soul to
I hope he's,
motivate you.
I hope he's not tapping me, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the visor, it's a look for sure. There's a definite vibe with Doug Peterson.
I think also though it's the visor and then it's like the floppy hair over the
Yes,
visor. Like
yeah,
kind of look like a Shih Tzu with
a
the
little bit,
hair.
or it looks like some sort of 85-year-old woman sitting at a slot machine in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
Like there's
yep, for sure.
the top of his head could be easily mistaken. Very identifiable in the NFL context, but taken out of that situation, it could be mistaken for something else.
Yeah. Oh, before we move on, I have a good trivia question for you, Eddie.
Okay.
So the best single game QBR performance in the regular season this year was a 96.8. Again, 100 being the best. That quarterback is in the playoffs. Who is that quarterback?
So I now have to be torn, right? Because is he still in the playoffs? He's in this round?
Yes, in
Okay.
this round.
Because there's part of me, you're bringing it up. Was this supposed, did you intend on asking me this before we kick this preview off? Or is the fact that we're discussing the Chiefs and the
Yeah.
Jags made you think of this statistic? In
The
which
fact
case,
that we're discussing the Chiefs and the Jags has nothing to do with this.
okay, so I can't narrow it. I can't necessarily narrow it down to these two. Um, I will go for. I think it's one of two people.
Okay.
I'm gonna go for the one that's. If it's wrong, you're just gonna laugh at me. But I'll say Brock Purdy.
It is not Brock Purdy.
Okay. Then I'll say it's Daniel Jones.
It is Daniel Jones. And what a segue to our Saturday night primetime matchup between the Eagles and the Giants. I did not actually mean to ask it there, but I wanted to ask it before we started talking about it. But yeah, so he had the best QBR performance, and that was week 18 or 17 against the Colts, the one they needed to clinch to win. So one could say maybe he's a primetime player in the big games. He can do it, and he has since week 14 the best QBR at 77. For the last 5 weeks now, he has the best average. So coming in hot, playing well
Yeah,
against
these are
maybe top 3 defense in the NFL and top 3 offense in the NFL and the Philadelphia Eagles.
yeah. Although question mark on the offense, right? Because we just don't know. The Jalen Hurts status is a
Yeah.
concern. Like that's the argument that can be made for why the Giants can win this game is because there's a possibility here we're getting, what percentage of a fully fit, up to speed Jalen Hurts are we getting, and at what point does it kind of drop below the threshold where I'm not going to say you can make the Giants favorite, but that you can make a very compelling argument for why they could win. And It
the most
scares me.
replaceable QB in the NFL.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. That's not what I said. I mean, here's the question: what's this line if it's Gardner Minshew?
If Eddie were making the lines, it'd be exactly the same.
No, it wouldn't be. Because what is the line as it is? How many points favorite are
So the
they?
line right now is -7.5 Philly.
Okay,
I say it's -5, 4,
Yeah,
-4.
I would have said somewhere between -3.5 and 5 if it's Minshew. Like still over a field goal, but under a touchdown.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it scares me a little bit to have this unknown element with Jalen Hurts, and particularly against a team that's going to put a lot of pressure on him, that loves to blitz, that's just going to send the house time and time again, even when it maybe doesn't even make sense. And they're definitely going to get to him, right? Like even if he's going to be knocked to the ground a few times, even if he's already got the ball out or whatever it is, he's going to be hit a few times, and that's worrying. I think it's probably more worrying if you're an Eagles fan for what that means for later down the line in the playoffs, because I do think they'll still be too good in this particular game, but it's a concern if he picks up some kind of injury. It'll be also interesting to see how much they use Hurts' ability to run the ball and whether or not they kind of reel that back in to try and protect him. This is the quarterback playoff matchup with the most combined rushing yards ever.
Took my stat.
Sorry.
That was my next stat I was going to give you.
But
yeah, 1,468 combined rushing yards in a regular season. Most ever for a QB duo to meet in the playoffs.
Yeah, and Daniel Jones last week had the second most rushing attempts from a quarterback in a playoff game ever. So, the Giants are going to use his ability on the ground a lot, but will the Eagles have to kind of come up with a slightly different game plan to what we saw from them in the regular season? I'll take the Eagles to win just because I think, their defense is so good, and then their offense that they can probably afford to be not at their very best on offense against this Giants team. But it wouldn't blow my mind if somehow the Giants managed to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, so they're division rivals, so they've played twice this year. The second matchup, obviously, can't take much out of it because the Giants rested all their starters, but they did meet back in November, I believe that was the first matchup. So later in the year, not super early in the year, and the Eagles won 48-22, and it was an absolute blowout. I mean, it wasn't close from the start. I don't think it will be that bad for the Giants. I completely agree. I don't know what kind of Hurts we're going to get here. And I think more to your point, I think the better point is even if we get 100% Hurts, how much are they going to let him loose? With the fact that you have to think about if you want to be a Super Bowl winning team, you have 2 more games after this, and you don't want to risk getting him injured or having him slowed down for the Super Bowl. But you have to win these anyway, so it's a tough debate as to kind of how much you let him run and how much you let him kind of do his own thing a little bit. The issue, I think, for the Giants is going to be how many points can they score, because I think the Eagles are going to score a decent amount. I think they're going to get close to 30. And, the Eagles have a top 3 defense in the NFL. Actually, what's funny is you have probably the top 3 defenses in the NFL in this playoffs right now, according to most statistics. And the Eagles are one of them. And they pretty much have the best pass rush statistically in the NFL. So they have a pass rush win rate of 52% and the second most QB hits. But the good thing about that is Daniel Jones is very above average against when under pressure. He's like a top 10 QB under pressure. So he can handle that, and he can kind of run around and he can make plays. And we see most of the good Giants drives are 3rd and 15 where Daniel Jones just scrambles and makes a first down to keep the play alive. And it's just kind of like backyard football. So I'm not that worried about that. I'm more worried about Daniel Jones sitting back there and making a dumb throw and costing them a turnover. So I'm going to root for the Giants, and I'm going to hope the Giants win. I don't know. I'm not very confident. I
How
will
big?
say,
How big do
uh,
you think the Daniel Jones backlash could be from the Giants fan base? How rational will it be if this is a Eagles win
I
this
think it'll be
game?
pretty rational.
So, but let me Eagles win this game by 20 plus points. Daniel Jones has a couple turnovers. Will it be, oh, this is, we knew he wasn't that good? Or will there be kind of a sensible reaction to it?
I think it'll be a sensible reaction because when you look at what he has around him, it's tough to put the blame on him. You have Saquon Barkley, but other than that, you don't have much. You don't have receivers. You don't have a great tight end. The O-line, you have one good O tackle. The rest of the O-line is not very good. So you can't put the blame all on him when for the past 5 weeks, he's the reason you're probably in the playoffs to begin with. So I think you kind of have to look at it. You should be happy you're in the playoffs and happy you won a playoff game. I think that's going to be good confidence moving forward next year, maybe when they can fill in some of these missing holes in their offense. But the fact I do have, Eddie, is the Giants 17-5 against the spread and 14-8 outright as playoff underdogs in the Super Bowl era. Most wins, best winning percentage, and best cover percentage by any team as a playoff underdog in the Super Bowl era history.
Yeah,
So
but
there
how
is
much?
no better underdog playoff team than the New York Football Giants.
I mean, I don't know how much history has relevance on how well they perform this weekend, but also I'd be interested to see how many of those underdog wins or covers
Are
have
against Tom Brady, at
have
least
come
two.
from those two Super Bowl runs because they were basically underdogs in all of those games both times, right? So you you've got
So that would be six.
eight.
Yeah, sorry, eight.
Yeah, so eight of those. Maybe they were favorites in one or I can't even remember, but definitely in 2007 they were probably underdogs in all of them.
No,
2011,
one year they definitely because they had home games. Because I was there when they beat the Minnesota Vikings 41-0 in that playoff game, and Randy Moss got like crushed in the end zone and was getting like booed off the field on a stretcher.
yeah,
So they were like 1 or 2 seed that year.
but then they were on the road against the Niners, right? With the muffed punts, or maybe that was can't remember.
Yes, no, they
Yeah,
were. They were definitely on the road.
and they were. I want to say they were slight underdogs there, but probably only as a road team underdog. But yeah, I don't know. Those, as you know, I'm not a big believer in how those historical have facts for completely different sets of teams can impact how they play. It's not like I don't think you can't give a team talk where you inspire them because you tell them in 2007, the players wearing a similar jersey to you managed to win games no one expected them to win.
Really? You don't think they can get Michael Strahan and Justin Tuck in there to inspire them about their underdog story win the Super Bowl? Who are the Eagles going to get? Doug Peterson and his floppy hair?
Yeah, it'd be controversial for him to come in as a playoff coach.
It'll be next day. They get knocked out of the playoffs on Saturday afternoon. Saturday night, he takes a private jet to Philly to give a pep talk.
Yeah, they could have Foles come in. I mean, if you told me Eli Manning was giving the Giants like pregame speech, then I'd shave a couple points off for the Giants. Michael Strahan, no, he's just a
The whole team. It's Manning, Tiki Barber, Strahan, Tuck. Umanura's just waving his club hand in the air.
yes, but no, I think the Eagles will win.
So that brings us to Sunday, where you have the Bengals at the Bills, so 2 versus 3. And the Bills are 5.5 point favorites for this game. And the over-under here, 49.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Neither of these teams looked particularly good last week, and the Bills haven't looked that great over the last few weeks, really. The key to this game, I just think, is the Bengals' offensive line injuries. And there's going to be a certain moment where it's just too much for them. And they've already, during Joe Burrow's time in Cincinnati, they've struggled to protect him when they've had their first choice offensive line out there, and that's one of the areas in which they've improved this season. But now you've got so many replacements playing. I think they're missing 3 players going into this week from their offensive line. And yeah, I just think the Bills will consistently be able to get some pressure on Joe Burrow, and that will force, punts and mistakes. So I'll take the Bills to cover and to win, but it's you just feel a little bit uncomfortable because you've obviously got Josh Allen's playoff reputation, which so far hasn't been great. You have their poor performance last week and just over the last few weeks how they've looked. And yeah, it's not ideal preparation. And certainly if you told me that this is like a tied game with 5 minutes left, then I'd rather have Joe Burrow than Josh Allen.
Yeah, I can't fully disagree with you there. I think that's a toss up. But I mean, you say both teams aren't playing well. I will say they're coming in with pretty good winning streaks. The Bengals have won their last 9 and the Bills have won their last 8. So they're combined 17-0 in their last 17 games. I guess the only caveat to that is the game upon which they played each other got canceled. So one of those winning streaks would have been broken. But
it's also the nature of the wins, right? Because it's not as
yes.
if, you have long winning streaks, but it's not as if they've been totally convincing. Neither of these teams were convincing last weekend. They both
No.
You could say the Bengals probably should have lost, and the Bills came very close to losing. So,
yep.
And both against teams they would have expected to have dealt with, fairly easily. And yeah, I don't know. I just think you can kind of almost guarantee that the Bills will score a decent number of points just because that's what they do. And then the fact that you have a Bengals team that's missing so many offensive linemen, I think that will be the big difference maker.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the defining factor for this game here is we've seen what happens to Joe Burrow when he has no offensive line. And, the Super Bowl was a nightmare for him. And I think they did a great job of fixing that. But unfortunately, due to injuries, it kind of is back to where he was in the playoffs last year. And he's going to be pressured a lot. And the Bills are a smart and well-coached team that they will know this and take advantage of this and try and replicate what happened to him in the Super Bowl last year and put a ton of pressure on him. The other stat that's going to have to kind of break is the Bills are 4-0 in home games with Sean McDermott as their coach, and the Bengals won both of their road games last year. So one of those is going to have to break, either the road streak for the Bengals or the home streak for the Bills recently. The only thing, Eddie, that is slightly concerning is you mentioned Josh Allen. Josh Allen led the league in turnovers this year. Little surprising, but led the NFL in turnovers with 19 turnovers, so averaging over a turnover a game. And I don't think that's going to change because the Bengals do force turnovers. I mean, the reason they won that game last week was they forced a turnover on the 1-yard line, so they will get turnovers. They're opportunistic defense. But in the last 45 seasons, only 2 players ever, Eddie, have led the league in turnovers. I should say quarterbacks have led the league in turnovers and reached their conference championship game. They are 1990 or above. Do you want to take any guess as to what these 2 quarterbacks are that have reached a conference championship and led the league in turnovers?
How many of them were in the 90s?
One in the 90s, one in the
2000s.
or knots, as ex ghost Sam would say.
No, you would say
naughties.
Yeah.
Naughties.
So from the 90s, that's going to be Brett Favre.
It is not Brett Favre.
Drew Bledsoe.
You slightly mentioned his team this podcast already.
I slightly mentioned his team. Dan Marino?
No, I'll put you out of misery. Jim Kelly from the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, okay.
And then the other one we've also mentioned by name.
Eli Manning.
Eli Manning in 2007. Yep, led the league in turnovers. So not a good stat to have, I don't think. But and I think the
Well,
fact that he's turned the ball
you,
all over a lot this year,
you say that's not a
coupled
good.
with the fact,
You say that's not a good
but
stat
coupled
to
with the
have.
fact he's not a gamer.
Yeah, well, I don't know. That's but you say that's not a good stat to have. But of those two quarterbacks mentioned, one lost in the Super Bowl and one won the Super Bowl. So maybe it is a good stat to have.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Bills will win this. I think the home field advantage will help as well. And I think that depleted offensive line on the Bengals is going to be an issue. But I expect this to be close, and I think it'll be a fun game. I mean, I think it is fun watching Allen and Burrow duel out and play against each other. They will both take risks and take shots, and it makes for a fun game.
Yeah. No, I think this is the of all the matchups, this is the one I'm looking forward to the most. But
Wow, what a fan of the Niners you are. Not even looking forward to the Niners in the playoffs.
no, I am, but I have a certain. I will get onto. I guess this is how we can transition to it. I expect the Niners to win. So this to me is the toughest game to call. So as a result of it, I think it's the most interesting on paper. You know, the Niners. I'm expecting the Niners to take care of business. So I'm not.
Well,
I'm looking forward to watching them win, but I don't have as many doubts about that game as I have about this one.
well, we can get on to that last game then. You have the Cowboys at the number 2 Niners, and that is the Sunday afternoon-ish game in America. It'll be Sunday night no matter what in Europe. But the Niners are 4-point favorites. So I'll start here, and then I'll kind of let you tee off. I am torn here because I get caught in the trap that on paper the Cowboys are a great team. And at times, we've seen them be a great team. I am just worried as to whether that great team will show up. I have complete respect for the Niners. I do think they're the best team in the NFC. So this is not me not believing in the Niners. But I think a lot of people are underestimating the Cowboys. One, because they had the end of the regular season wasn't great. And two, they handedly beat the Bucks, but all everyone is saying is the Bucks are complete shit. That playoff is like a meaningless win because they weren't even playing a real playoff team. And I think it's kind of unfair to be that dismissive. So I will say, with the not playing well at the end of the regular season, Bill Barnwell has talked at length about how whether you play good in the beginning or the end part of the season does not matter at all. He's done advanced statistics showing that teams that, won their first 10 but then lost their last 5 in the playoffs did just as well as the reverse. So
I don't buy it.
Well, that's what the stats say. I know you're not an analytics guy. You're a momentum and the heart guy. I get it.
Don't try and slight me in the process of me doubting the statistics. I just don't buy it. I believe he doesn't believe in momentum. This is the issue I have with Bill Barnwell.
I know he doesn't believe in momentum.
And a lot of statistics people they pin their flag to a particular concept, and then their statistics have to back that up. Like Bill Barnwell couldn't be a no momentum in game guy, but then come up with the concept that momentum exists pre-game. So he has to look at the statistics and make sure that he presents them in a way in which it seems as if it doesn't matter how you're playing. So whether that meant, I'm not going to go into detail enough to do the statistics myself, but whether that meant when he looked at the sample size of teams, he had to cut it off like, oh, it's important I choose the last 5 games and not the last 4 games. However you have to manipulate that data set, I'm sure he did it because he has to. It's his thing.
Yeah. Well, and I guess, I would almost argue too, just me thinking about it, the teams that mostly win Super Bowls are the teams that are good throughout the entire year. So probably their first half and second half, they're probably 6-2 each half, kind of.
Close to.
They're probably above 500 both of the ways. Because look at the teams that have lost.
Here's
The Chiefs have what 3-4 losses, so they can't be that much worse in the first than the second. They only have 4 losses.
my greater point would be I can think of teams who had significantly better second halves of the season and then went on to certainly make the Super Bowl, if not win it. I can't think of teams that dropped off significantly in the second half and then won a Super Bowl. I'm sure it exists, but off the top of my head,
Yeah.
from recent memory, I don't remember a team being, you know,
If I
10 and
have
0.
absolutely nothing to do next week, I will dive deep into these stats to try and prove Bill Barnwell right or wrong one way or the other.
Go for
But
it.
regardless of that, I think I do think people are a little just dismissive of the Cowboys. When you look at the teams, I actually think they're pretty comparable teams. So they both have good defenses. They're both ranked in the top 3 in overall defense. The only issue is, oh, sorry. And then offense wise, I think they have pretty similar offenses, that they're run first offenses and they play well off of the run. The people are a little different, McCaffrey and Debo versus Pollard and Elliott with a little bit of Dak mixed in. They both run the ball well, and their offense is based off of running and then play action off of that run. So I think they're pretty similar in that sense. The difference here, and I think this is what's going to decide this game, is while the Cowboys have statistically a very good defense, and the strength of their defense is pressures and pass defense and getting to the quarterback, they are not great against the run. They are like a 15th ranked team, even like a little lower against the run. And when you're playing a team who is going to destroy you all day with running the ball down your throat, I think that's going to be the break point. If you told me the Niners had to pass the ball 40 times, I would be a little more happy with picking an underdog in the Cowboys, but that's not going to happen. They're going to go into this game, even if they're down, they will continue to run the ball. We've seen them do that before. They'll be down a game and they'll still be running and running, and I don't think the Cowboys can stop that. So I think that's where it's going to break for the Cowboys. But I mean, everyone raves about Nick Bosa. I mean, Micah Parsons is an absolute freak, and in every stat, he actually almost outnumbers Bosa. So, things like that, like people are very dismissive about this Cowboys team, but I think they're a very talented team.
You're doing that great sports take, like sports talk take thing, which is everybody's dismissing the Cowboys, and
they are. Everyone I've talked to has said the same thing.
Okay, I don't know who you're talking to. That's more difficult, but certainly I think within sports coverage, everyone I listen to is doing exactly what you're doing, which means, as far as I'm concerned, no one is dismissing the Cowboys because everyone's like straw manning the general public with everybody I talk to says the Cowboys have no chance.
You just dismissed them.
Yeah,
You just said I have no fear that the Niners aren't going to win this game.
Yeah, but I think I'm in the minority in being that confident.
I don't think you are. I've gone out to the public and talked to many people.
Experts?
We actually had a pretty good debate about this after our hockey games. We all stayed back at the bar and we're talking. And all 8 people there with me didn't give the Cowboys a chance.
I don't know how to interpret the picks of your roller hockey league.
General Joes. Your average Joes.
I like that the equivalent of like when it's like a CBS game or whatever, and they have all the experts making their pregame selections, and then for us, it's your roller hockey team. Like Steve from the goalie Steve says he's got the Niners in this one. No, I think. Look, I think the Niners are justifiably favorites. I think most people I've listened to have tried to come up with reasons why the Cowboys will win. It's the toughest matchup that Purdy has faced so far in his career, so that's an interesting test. Definitely the best defense he will have played, and they'll, cause him some problems. And that's the unknown factor is if he gets off to a really bad start, could things just crumble for him? But then the nice thing with the Niners is they'll just run the ball. Like if Purdy really starts to just fall apart, they'll just run the ball. So as long as it's somewhat, that's going to be difficult if you're suddenly down 21 points. Shanahan will still run the ball, and we've seen that enough from him. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Niners are better in pretty much every department, with the exception of quarterback. Like, I'm going to give the edge to Dak Prescott because he obviously.
No, I
What?
refuse for you to be able to say that statement. For
Why?
someone who says Dak Prescott is not good all season and then tells me how Brock Purdy is the greatest quarterback
No,
ever.
no, no, no. I do not think that.
You
I don't. You
cannot
can't.
backtrack and tell me Dak Prescott is better than Brock Purdy. I
No,
won't allow you to say it.
but I genuinely believe, certainly at this moment in time, he is obviously the better quarterback. One of them has played a
So,
hand.
so this week you need to win a game, and you're picking Dak Prescott over Brock Purdy if you need to win that game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, then why would you even think about having Brock Purdy as your long-term quarterback?
Because we're talking about a rookie quarterback who's played a handful of NFL games versus a reasonably experienced NFL quarterback.
How experienced in the playoffs is he?
Dak Prescott?
He has one win. He has just as many wins as Brock Purdy in the playoffs.
He has more losses, though. So he's. But, I mean, I'm just saying, look, I think my opinion of Dak Prescott is he's a just about mediocre NFL quarterback. And
So Brock Purdy's a slightly below mediocre quarterback.
Well, the reality is he's a rookie quarterback with not even a full season under his belt. So saying he's like the 15th best quarterback in the NFL is a bold statement, right? So I would say, yeah, I mean, look, if I had to choose, it's the only area where I feel like you can give the Cowboys a real edge. I don't think it's a significant enough difference. This is not like saying it's the difference between Purdy and Mahomes. Like, I don't think it's a game-changing difference in quality. But sure, I mean, I think I spend more time being critical of Dak Prescott because most people, I'm going to pull the U here and talk about nameless, faceless people and their opinions, but because most people, the sort of general consensus is that Dak Prescott is like top 5, top 6, top 7 quarterback, and I don't buy that. So my criticism of him is more trying to. Yeah, I'm not saying he shouldn't be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Like, that's, but yeah, I give.
Who's a better? Wait, I want to ask you a good one. Right now in
Yeah,
this playoffs, who's a better quarterback, Daniel Jones or Dak Prescott?
Daniel Jones.
Wow. Okay.
Like, of the 8 remaining quarterbacks, Dak Prescott would be 6th for me.
So you're saying the bottom is Lawrence, Purdy, Dak.
Yeah.
That's your bottom 3.
Yeah.
Wow. I cannot believe you're putting Purdy this low. This is a classic move by you. You talk him up all season and then you put him down when it matters.
I'm still talking him up. I'm just trying to talk him up in a realistic manner. I don't have to be having confidence in him doesn't mean that. Look, I'm the same person who's also saying that the next year there's a quarterback competition, for the starting job, even if the Niners make the Super Bowl. So I think.
Well, not after those tweets Trey Lance is sending out, but we can talk about that another day.
But put it in that context, like that's what I think of Brock Purdy. This is a great run. It's an incredible run. And I think people are too dismissive to just say, well, he's in the right system because he looks better than Garoppolo did. But I don't think he is the next, like, Tom Brady. I don't think this is going to be such. There are still questions about him in terms of his size, for example. I mean, I think size is the big issue. That sooner or later it's going to catch up to him that he's basically a tiny quarterback. But yeah, no, I think.
All right, let's not worry about the size, Eddie. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like, he's the 8th. He's 8th on my list of quarterbacks going into this round. I expect him to be 4th on my list of quarterbacks next round, and I expect him to
he's 7th. He's 7th on your list.
No, I've got Trevor Lawrence above him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then
okay.
I expect him to be 4th on. I expect him to be 4th on the list next round, and I expect him to be 2nd on the list in the Super Bowl, and I expect him to win the Super Bowl. So you can try and wrap your head around those various sort of elements, but I don't think just because I
I'm
think
just
he's
trying to wrap my head around the psychology upon which is going on in your head, because part of me feels this is your class. This is a very English perspective. Like it's like the England national team. It's like never confident about something. I think that's part of it.
but I
But the
am
other
confident.
part of it too is I think in your head, you want to rationalize that the Niners are so good that they can win with the worst quarterback
No,
in the
no, no.
playoffs. And then if they lose, all you have to say is imagine that they didn't have a rookie QB who is the worst ranked quarterback in the playoffs. They easily would have won. So they're still the best team. Even though they didn't win the playoffs in the Super Bowl, they're still the best team in the NFL. That's the garbage you're going to
No.
give me. And you're laying the railroad tracks now. So if that happens, you can say that to me.
Look, I'll lay some of those tracks right now, and I'll start driving the train down them. I'll tell you, no matter what the outcome is of these remaining playoff games, the Niners are the best team in the NFL. I'll say that now. So there you go. You've got the soundbite.
They're the best team with the worst quarterback.
No, not the worst quarterback. The quarterback I rate the lowest of the remaining 8 quarterbacks.
Of the teams that matter.
Yeah, and when I'm ranking, I'm not saying he's necessarily the worst, but it's more just you can't fill out his report card as completely or as confidently as you can some of them. Like Mahomes has to be top, but we've seen Mahomes in these situations so many times. You know exactly what you're getting. I have to put Burrow after last week. I've got to put Burrow now above Josh Allen because the Josh Allen playoff question marks remain, even though in the regular season he's been good. So with all of them, I'm kind of trying to deal with the various sample sizes of material that we have to judge them upon. And Purdy has one playoff game and a handful of regular season games. I can't be totally confident that something can't go wrong. But I also think the Niners are so good that something can go wrong and they'll still win.
Yeah, I ultimately think the Niners will also win this game, but I think I hope it's a fun, close game.
I hope they're all close games.
I hope the Giants blow out the Eagles.
Because this is a larger debate, right? Even with teams that I support, I much rather have them win close games. It is more enjoyable for me to watch a team. Every once in a while, it's nice, depending on who the opponent is, to really, win comfortably. But for the most part, like certainly once you get to the playoffs, or if it's a World Cup game or something, it's much more enjoyable to win the tense, kind of final few possessions. Anything's up for grabs. Something could go wrong. You need to come through in the final few minutes. That's more satisfactory than the Niners were up by 28 points in the third quarter, and we just got to bench the starters. With 6 minutes left in a playoff game, that's not that enjoyable.
Well, and I guess you're not high. I'm not gonna say you're high on Dak Prescott, but I think Dak will have to have an amazing game to win this. I think that's the other factor. If he plays to the highest of his potential, I think they have a shot. If he plays like we've seen him play this season and turns the ball over a lot, I think then they're done. So I think a lot of this is going to rely on Dak. Even though they are a run-first team, I think at the end of the day, you're going to need him to, when they do have play action and when he is asked to throw, that he hits almost every throw he has. Because if he starts throwing interceptions and terrible passes, they're going to be done. You can't turn the ball over on the Niners and expect to win, because they'll take that ball and then they'll just run it down your throat, waste 10 minutes of the clock and get a score, So it's tough.
Yeah, no, for sure. And
the Niners play very stingy. They're not going to give the ball up.
Probably not. Not multiple times. You might get you could get a Brock Purdy interception, or there's the occasional fumble. It happens, but yeah, you're not gonna. I'd be amazed if at the end of this game it's a situation where the Cowboys, the Niners, turn the ball over 4 times. That would surprise me. If it's one interception and a fumble, I could buy that, but
Yeah. And I know that sounds like dumb, but when I take another game, the Jags versus the Chiefs, I think Lawrence can still have 2 interceptions and it isn't the end of the world because I think the Chiefs do turn the ball over a lot. Mahomes can throw interceptions. They do fumble a decent
Or
amount.
the
So that's a
Bills.
team where,
The
Bills too,
Bills,
same thing.
the
Yeah.
Bills are the perfect example. You could tell me that Josh Allen had 3 interceptions, and the Bills could have still won the game by 10 points. It's just the way they play, and especially with them because they turn the ball over. A lot of his interceptions are in the red zone, so they're kind of not as costly because it's like, okay, the Bengals are getting the ball back on their own 10-yard line or something, and they might end up punting, and you score 3-4 minutes later instead. But yeah, if you tell me the Niners have 4 turnovers, then
They've lost.
Yeah, something's gone really wrong.
Parsons has broken Purdy's leg. And they're on to who's the backup now?
Johnson, right? Josh Johnson.
Oof. Yeah.
You're always calling for injuries from players. I don't know. Where you, but no, I think, I'm confident.
All right. Well, that wraps up that round. Eddie, I have one. I know we like to do odds. What is your predicted playoff? I'm going to ask you 2 questions. What is your predicted Super Bowl matchup, both teams? And then what do you think would be a worthwhile bet from what you think would be a good odds perspective?
So I think Niners Chiefs will be the Super Bowl. And then what do I think would be acceptable odds for me to bet on the Niners Chiefs? That's your question?
No. So the Niners Chiefs, that is the most likely odds, according to, I think this is MGM. That is a plus 550 or like, what is that? Like 5-1, 6-1, that exact matchup. So what do you think would then be, if you had to pick one with, you think some value in it that could happen?
Okay. So you're not looking at the odds, like a prediction, like a combination that I think will be bigger odds, but that has a chance of coming true.
Yeah.
That's, from the AFC, I mean, I guess I'll throw the Bengals in, even with their offensive line issues. So put the Bengals against, like, honestly, from the NFC, I can only see it being the Niners or the Eagles. So I'll say Bengals, Eagles.
So they're both same.
Okay.
They're both 10-1.
All right.
So Bengals play Niners, Bengals play Eagles, both 10-1.
Yeah, there's no value there.
No. In fact, there's really not much value in any of them unless you want to get like Cowboys, Bills, 14-1.
There's
Cowboys, Bengals, 22-1.
Wow, there's no value there.
No.
Because again, it goes back to it, like, you got the Cowboys are underdogs in this game. The Bengals are underdogs in this game. So already that double is paying you what? Like 3-1, 4-1?
Probably 3-1.
They'll both be underdogs next week, even if they win. Depending on, like, unless you tell me there's upsets elsewhere. But like Cowboys, Eagles are favorites. Chiefs, Bengals, Chiefs are favorites. So I think if you were betting it game by game, you'd probably end up getting better odds than that.
Chiefs, Giants, 30-1. Book it.
I think if you believe in the Giants, then that's the kind of bet I guess you could just bet on them to win the NFC. What are the Giants' odds to win the NFC?
So the Giants to win the NFC are 11-1. And the Chiefs to win the AFC are 3-2.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. 11-1. And, one of my better NFL future bets of all time, the first future bet I ever placed on the NFL was in 2007 on the Giants to win the Super Bowl. So at this same stage, I bet on the Giants to win the Super Bowl in 2007 at 33-1.
25-1 right now, the Giants are to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So they were 33-1 that year, and I put 20 pounds.
I think it's slightly disrespectful that they're the least favorite team to win the Super Bowl, tied with the Jags. I think they are a better team than the Jags, And I also think they have not an easier, like a slightly easier road. I would rather play the Eagles than play the Chiefs. I think the Eagles are beatable. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't
I
say
don't
that,
know.
but
I think that based on what we've seen so far this season, the Chiefs are more likely to have the off game, press the self destruct button. I think this Eagles team is just more consistent. Like you're going to get tested by them for sure.
yeah.
The
I just think the
Chiefs
Giants are a better team than the Jags.
probably, but I disagree with. I think their road to the Super Bowl is tougher because I think the AFC,
If Hurts is healthy.
those AFC teams are better when they're at their best, but they are much more likely to have subpar games. Whereas, yeah, the reverse is the case. But I guess then before we wrap things up quickly, I guess we can talk about the TV show that's sweeping the world, literally and figuratively. I guess Last of Us. Well, because it's about a fungal infection, right? So
Infecting the world, not
yeah.
sweeping the world.
Well, the infection is sweeping.
They're
the
not
world.
zombies who they're not zombies who go out with brooms and start cleaning up the the kitchens. But yeah, I think overall it's so far I really like the show. I've never played the video game. I've heard about how great it is and how it's one of the best video games ever. And I listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff about entertainment and this in particular. So what I thought was really cool is even I haven't played any of the game. There's some videos out there that show like the clips of the game and then the clips of the movie. And some of the scenes are like almost identical, like frame for frame. And I think it's really cool that they were able to do that and also make it look really good at the same time, which I guess is easy because the game itself looked good to begin with. But it's a nice like tip of the hat, I think, to the game and to people who appreciate and love the game, while still also making it not too cheesy of a video game like show so far.
Yeah, they took themselves right to the edge with the car scene, which is as they're kind of trying to escape initially, which I guess is the kind of sequence that perfectly copies the video game. And you can tell watching it, even if you didn't know, just the kind of first person perspective they have and the head twisting and you're seeing things that is very like a video game style.
And like the part where so I guess brief spoilers here, but also when he's carrying his daughter in the beginning and there's like something chasing him, the way that they're filming him carrying it is very like video game-esque of like if you were a third person video game playing it, it's how it would look, Yeah.
No, and I think for the most part, the car one, it did feel a little bit. It almost went too far, where then it started to feel like you were in at an amusement park and you're about to get on like a roller coaster, and they were trying to sort of build the scene, and then the roller coaster is about to take off or something. But no, I thought it was really good, very much like really enjoyed.
Yeah,
I also think it's a testament to the positives of not releasing all of your episodes at once. Like I am more interested in watching more episodes because I don't have instant access to episode 2, episode 3. Like there's a good chance I would have just this week watched multiple episodes and been like, I've had enough of it now. But the fact that I get
but I think I agree. But I think from what I've heard for people who have gotten multiple episodes, like critics and stuff, it gets progressively better. So the first episode, it was the longest. It was kind of like a double. So there's only 9 episodes in the season, and originally there was going to be 10, but they kind of combined these first 2 episodes into one. So that's why it was a really long episode. It was almost the equivalent of 2. Basically, they figured it was better to not cut that episode, which I think was the right move. It was long, but I think it ultimately is the right move. But from what I've heard, it gets way better now that the world is set up and you have an idea of what's going on, and like very video game-esque, like the main mission has started kind of.
Yeah. I also got to give them huge credit for the way they set it up, which I know a lot of people have been praising them for, but with that
cold opening,
2.5 minutes of scientists discussing it, perfectly explained to you the kind of what was going to happen, like what exactly this type of sort of infection or virus was going to be. without having to ram it down your throat, without, you know, like, it's just, here's 2.5 minutes. It kind of gave you a sense of foreboding, and, you know, it was just a really perfect way of quickly saying, here it is. This is the thing that's going to happen. And now you get to watch it unfold. And I thought that was really, really smart. Instead of, you know, a lot of other shows or movies would have dragged that out, would have listened to scientists talking, speculating, you know, and it would have been sort of the first episode almost would have been trying to explain to you all of those details. And there it kind of gave you everything you needed to know, and also told you you don't really need to know like what this is. You just need to know that people are sort of zombies, basically.
Yeah. And a lot of, and so it will get a lot trickier, I think, because there are like different stages of the zombies in the game. And I think they said they will address that a little bit. So that will kind of, you'll see more of that, I think. But, and the other good thing about it is it's based off of decently sound science. So everything that guy says in the beginning, for the most part, is accurate. The only thing that's not is that he said there's absolutely no treatment for fungus. That's a lie. I mean, like, athlete's foot is caused by a fungus. Like, there's treatments for, there are antifungals.
Oh, are you saying
they're
I could have
not
got
great
my
and they're not as effective?
Are you saying I could have got my athlete's foot treated, Frank? I've had it for
Yep, you didn't have to cut it.
13 years.
Yeah.
It's just been getting worse.
But they are very, very difficult to treat. So like one of the main ones, because obviously I live in Arizona, is valley fever, and that's something that dogs get very often. It's a fungus that you pick up because dogs kind of like sniff at the dirt, and it's in the air and the dirt, and you can get it pretty easily, and it's really hard to treat, and it can be pretty deadly for dogs. But for the most part, like, there are some treatments. So that was the only part I was like a little, there are antifungals, but like the whole thing about it being like his example of the fungus in the ant and it takes over the ant, that's completely true. And actually what the video game, the reason he has that idea of what the video game is based off is because the creator of the game saw a planet Earth of that actual thing of a fungus infecting the ant and taking over the ant's mind. And that's where he kind of came up with that idea based off of the video game. So there is a lot of truth to that. So yeah, I think that's always a plus. And that's always kind of like what I always hated about The Walking Dead. I never really watched it much, but whenever I would ask people, you know, like, so why are they zombies? There was never any good science behind it. So, yeah, it's going to be good. And the cast is good. I think it's very well cast, as usual for an HBO show.
His aging was a little interesting.
It's tough because he's right in the middle of both those ages.
And he looked a little too old for 36, which is what he's supposed to be. And a
little too young for 55.
56. It's 20 years later, 56,
right? Sorry, 20
He looked great for 56.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, in the video game, from, you know, the little bits I've seen of it, he's obviously supposed to be.
So the only big change they've made from the video game is the infection is airborne. And they purposely changed that because they didn't want their main actors wearing like masks, gas masks, which they wear a lot in the game, which I'm sure Pedro Pascal must have been so happy because he has a whole show that's basically the exact same show with him with a mask on the entire time in The Mandalorian. So I'm sure he was like, thank fucking God I don't have to wear a mask and chauffeur a child around again.
maybe not. It's probably an easier acting job because then you don't have to worry about facial expressions. You know?
Maybe, but I think you don't get the recognition. Like, I'm sure there are so many people who don't know that the Mando is the same person.
The Mando. Yeah, maybe not. Here's my quick question for you then. How well would you survive this same scenario? Like this same type of zombie apocalypse?
I would like to save this for a later podcast, but I'm done for.
Yeah.
I'm not good with like guns and things. You know, like I don't own a gun. I've shot a gun maybe once in my life. So that in that front, I'm kind of screwed. I probably don't even know how most of them work. I don't know where the safety is on most guns, to be honest. So I'm done for there. Second of all, I live in an area where I don't know where I would go to escape it. I was thinking about this. You could go up to like the mountains in Arizona. It would be pretty desolate up there, but I'd have to drive through Phoenix, which is a major metropolitan city. And there's no way I'm getting through that. Yeah. So I think I'm a goner. You're definitely a goner. Oh, yeah. You don't make the apartment. You don't make it out of the apartment.
No, I mean, living in a totally urban environment in an apartment building with no car, it's
there are explosions or plane crashes into Paris, Paris is gone.
I don't know what my tactic would be. Like I think I would just hole up in the apartment and hope for the best for as long as possible.
Try and I Am Legend it, and then solidify that apartment with like the gun-proof walls and things.
The apartment itself would be fine. I think I would be able to lock myself in the apartment and probably be totally safe because they aren't like superhuman. They appear to be very quick, but they're not like super strong, you know. So
they're fast. Their 40 time has increased drastically, or I should say decreased drastically.
I think, but it would be a question of when does the water stop running? That's a bad time. And when do I run out of food?
Electricity. Like I don't have a generator.
Yeah. Also,
or anything, at least, you know, things like that. I'm done.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is there are a lot of people in Arizona that would probably thrive. This is my best bet is right now, starting today, I should try and friend someone who has an isolated ranch in Arizona with a lot of guns. But part of me is that is not the person I want to friend with.
And then you'll be in the next
if there's no impending apocalypse, then that is a bad friend to have made.
You never know. You never know. And once he starts convincing you, and when you get caught up in the next Waco, well, that'd be great for the
exactly.
That'd be great for the podcast. Could you be recording?
Exactly.
You could be recording episodes mid sort of, you know, stalemate between you and some FBI. I think that'd be great.
But I think this is a show that I think from week to week we can have a little bit of a like, what would you have done here? Because I'm sure there's going to be many situations they come across that have like questionable moves, which is, you know, it's a video game, so you're going to have to make decisions. So
yeah, I mean, but so far we're in agreement. We're both dead.
Yeah, we're not making it.
No.
Yeah. And I guess with that, then we'll call it a day. All right, I'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Cheerio.